Hey guys, today I am sitting with someone who is inspirational. I am going to let her introduce herself, tell you who she is and what she does. So my guest today, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm Simone Venner. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist and work with everything from type 2 diabetes to anxiety. But I suppose my fascination is the gut, the bacteria within our bodies, and the power of those bacteria and the influence that it has on our overall health.
We have so much in common. So this for me is just one of the best interviews that I'll be doing. So let's just kick it off. Can you just tell us why you think nutrition is important?
Yeah, nutrition as a whole. And I mean, it's such an interesting question because I think nutrition as a whole can be very individual, unique maybe to individuals, what they think is correct and what they think may not be correct. But to me, nutrition is about firstly having the education, having the resources, coming from a place of understanding the privilege behind, if you can get that education for sure,
Mhm.
and being open to trying different things and learning different things. So for me, nutrition is about nourishing my body head to toe, internally, externally, and not just food. This is looking at mental health, exercise, and hydration. So that's kind of nutrition for me in a nutshell.
So let's talk gastro. I totally support your view on nutrition because I feel the same. I think in the last couple of years, we've seen a high increase of people with gastrointestinal disorders. Can you just tell me from your perspective, why do you think that is? And can you give us some examples of clients that you've dealt with gastrointestinal disorders?
I think we are seeing a increase in digestive disorders, whether that's diagnosed or undiagnosed. Diagnosed, maybe seeing an increase of colitis or Crohn's disease, and undiagnosed, maybe we're dealing with constipation up and down, maybe we're dealing with IBS symptoms, or maybe diarrhea, or even if we're, gas, whatever we're dealing with, many of the times we may feel a little bit too embarrassed to talk about it. So I think, we're seeing this increase of these issues. And deep down, I feel kind of Western society, or should I say modern society, has a role to play there. We used to eat food so naturally, right? We used to be in the fields and milling our wheat and making our bread, and to make bread would take us hours. Now people think that even the paleo diet is going to Tesco's to buy your chicken breast, right? Like, it's so far removed from what we used to do as
Yes.
people, as human beings. And with that, we'll dig into kind of the bacteria and kind of the role that that plays in our overall health. But if you are out foraging and you're out with different types of bacteria, that is, if they're good bacteria, going to help, kind of balance out the bacteria in your skin and in your gut. So, we had what, processed bread come in like in the 40s, 50s, where we saw puffy, perfect bread that was shelf stable and, would give you this perfect toast. But at the same time, you removed the fiber, like one of the
Yeah.
most important nutrients in the grain. We've removed it to make
Yeah.
it shelf stable. And I think that over a period of time, we're doing that with more and more foods.
Products.
We're doing it with, whether it be pasta, whether it be rice, whether it be bread and different grains. There's so many refined grains that don't support our gut health.
Yeah.
So I think over a period of time, food has changed. A lot of us now, we're educating people on how we used to eat, which I feel crazy half the time, when I'm telling people, eat more fruits and eat more vegetables. And they're like, that's what grandma said, right? Like, we all know that, but still people need to be guided by, and I think marketing too, because you pick up a box and it says high in fiber and 2 of your fiber a day, you know, and you look at some kind of processed food in a can, which, you know, we should be able to see those foods, those food qualities. You should be able to look at fruits and vegetables and be like, you know, that's rich in color, we're going to know that's going to have loads of nutrients in there, we're going to know it's a good source of fiber and it's going to nourish us internally. So I think the food has changed. That being said, we've got proof, you know, that your grandparents would have had such a wider diversity of bacteria in their colon than we have now. We wash our hands all the time, rightly so, we should. But I think, you know, many of us are using products in our households that, you know, are used in hospitals or really kind of dirty surfaces, but we're using them constantly in the house. So all of these things over a period of time have an impact on our overall health, our immune system. Not to say that they shouldn't, you know, they serve a purpose, but I think we are definitely obsessed with bacteria being bad. And we know that as humans, we are more bacteria than we are human. And without that, we wouldn't survive. So I think definitely history has changed our foods, how we look at food, how we connect to food. You know, some people don't even make time for food. They're so busy with work. They're picking up something. They don't care what it is. They need to eat. They've got 15 minutes and they've got this meeting. They need to pick up the kids. So I think, you know, all of those factors coming together and that kind of disconnect of food too, which so many of us, you know, think of Christmas as an example. We want to buy loads of food, we want to cook for everyone, we want to see everyone with this plate of food and to feel connected as a community. And I think much of that plays a huge role, and we know that too, that plays a huge role in our longevity. So I think sadly that is lacking, but it definitely doesn't have to be that way.
I totally agree. I mean, I remember looking at, if we look at our grandparents, they kind of lived till they were 90, 95. You know, my mom's friend actually is 104. And they have not changed the way that they're eating. Everything is freshly produced. Everything is off the soil. And there's none of these processed food, but people need to consider that the emulsifiers that they're putting in food is actually contain lots of chemicals that also affect the gastro. And they don't consider that at all when they're actually picking up items from the shops. And these are things, like rightly said, that you've said, that we need to consider, that the fresh produce is often better. It is better. It takes more time to prepare. Yes, I agree with that. But at least you're eating better quality and good nourishing food, as opposed to just processed food, which can do long-term damage over a period of time. So I think that.
You know, they kind of serve a purpose, this lifelong food for, you know, if we're going into food banks and we need to get the food to last longer to reach other people. So there's a time and a place. But I think for the majority of us, it comes down to this lack of education, maybe laziness, maybe you are overworked and you don't have time, so you need to have food that's in the fridge that's going to last for a ridiculous amount of time, because otherwise it's going to be wasted. But I think the bigger picture, people don't really think that way. You know, we don't really think of, oh, you know, they think of, oh, I'm going to have steak or I'm going to have this, but they don't really think of, I want to have a really nourishing meal because I haven't nourished myself all week. I've got the time, it's Sunday, I'm going to take 2-3 hours to just bulk cook, so at least I've got 3 fresh lunches throughout the week. People don't really think like that. They think that, you know, Sunday, oh, I don't want to cook on Sunday, I'm cooking in the evening, I don't want to bulk cook, but you save time throughout the week too. But I think it's just kind of that structure and that understanding and connecting to nourishing yourself.
Absolutely. My other question is, obviously we're in a pandemic. Let's talk about the effects of nutrition on mental health. So I mean, we talked about in terms of it being for why nutrition is important, we talked about the gastro. Let's talk about the mental health, because we're currently in a pandemic. And we know lots of people are actually suffering from mental health. What can food do to kind of impact that?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good question too, because many people don't make that connection, right? We we know that we can eat to be slim, or we can eat to put on weight, but when we look at other areas of our body apart from our midriff, right, like we can support, you know, whether it's our limbs, if we're dealing with inflammation, if we want to strengthen our bones, if we want to, you know, support our joints, we can do all that by looking at certain foods. But our mental health is often not connected. When people look at changing their diet, they may look at getting a certain herbal tea or having a certain supplement, but although, you know, that may be beneficial,
Yeah.
looking at what you're putting into your body is huge when we're supporting our mental health. And there is a connection between the gut and the brain,
Yeah.
and they do communicate with one another. And one thing that we definitely know, between 90 and 95% of the body's serotonin, so our happy hormone, is produced by the bacteria in your gut. So regardless of anyone taking this or taking that and kind of thinking that this is definitely going to support my mental health, there's so much that we can do with food to support that, right? So what are the best foods for the gut? Can we keep trying to feed those bacteria to enable them to maybe encourage them to produce more serotonin? And this isn't saying, you know, whether people are on medication, if you're on SSIs from the doctors, I have many clients that are on antidepressants, and it's not a case of getting them off their antidepressants. It's a case of working alongside them with their medication so that they feel as if they've got a bit more energy to get out of bed in the morning. Like, that is huge. And I'll say 10 out of 10 clients I work with, when we start to change their diet, they notice they feel a little bit more kind of vibrant. They feel a little bit happier, which then encourages them to cook more, right?
Yeah.
They've got more energy to cook more. They've got more energy to go to the supermarket and buy more nourishing foods. Because I think that's kind of, you know, it's like that vicious circle. You don't have the energy, so how are you going to be able to nourish yourself? So I think it's kind of coming back to that and doing what you can to support yourself, to boost your energy levels, going out to the store, buying nourishing foods, and kind of making that connection again. And what we are learning time and time again is that those bacteria in our gut thrive off fiber.
Yes.
That is what they thrive off.
Yes.
And, you know, many of us talk about carbs, we talk about fats, we talk about proteins, and rightly so, but we're not talking enough about
fiber. I find that, I mean, most conversations I have with people, they always tell you they want to reduce the carbs. They don't talk about the benefits of good fiber. And I always have to say, you know, this is the best way, or these are the options that I use to kind of re-educate them on how they should be eating properly. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and I was in kind of a chat the other day, and there was lots of kind of nutritional therapists, and I think someone asked about fiber, and they were like, oh, can you overdo it? And, you know, a few people was like, yeah, you can definitely overdo it. And I was like, I'm waiting for my turn. I'm waiting for my turn. And I got on there and I was like, no, you can't overdo it. Because fiber keeps us full, right?
Yes.
Like, that is what keeps us full. And as an example, you know, you wouldn't buy 6 bananas and just eat 6 bananas. You would always grab one. Maybe if you're on the go and you need a bit more food, you'll have 2 to last you through. But the same with, you know, oatmeal porridge. No one goes back for 4 bowls of porridge. Where if you have a packet of crisps, you know, we've all done it with those large bags. Before you know it, you're like, how did, oh, it must have been a smaller bag. Yeah. And you question how you did it. So I think when you look at fiber as a whole, that is what keeps you full, and that's what's going to stable your blood sugar levels. That's it's going to feed the bacteria that are in your gut, and it's going to prevent you, because of that balance in the blood sugar, it's going to prevent you from craving those sugary foods that most people are trying to avoid, right, or at least reduce. And you know, there was a study that I read. It was on a tribe, and this tribe was eating, like, you know, they were foraging. They were eating, what they recommend in the UK, the NHS, is 30 grams of fibre a day. This particular tribe was eating around 86 grams, I think it was, 86 grams. And their diversity of the bacteria in their gut was like nothing you would see in the West. It was just phenomenal to see that diversity. And, you know, all of the stuff that kills us out, heart disease, doesn't exist there. Type 2 diabetes doesn't exist there. High cholesterol doesn't exist there. Half of them are chewing on root. They're not brushing their teeth. No cavities. Like it's just so much that we are learning from how people are traditionally eating. Right, traditionally eating before they start adding in the processed foods and the quick foods that make our lives more convenient because we're working too much and everything else and we're exhausted. But I mean, obviously, if you sit down and eat 4 cans of beans, then yeah, you're gonna overdo it. But most of us, you know, that wouldn't happen. You'd have a portion, and then your next meal you have another portion, right? But yeah, we're seeing the amazing benefits of increasing these fibers, and you know, these fibers, some of them have the ability to bind onto cholesterol. So reduce your cholesterol within your blood. That's fiber. That's not, you know, anything magical. That's not any superfood or any expensive supplement. That is literally from increasing the diversity of fiber in your diet.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we love about cassava, is that cassava is a good source of fiber and it's low GI. And it helps you and stabilize your blood sugar levels. And people don't realize that, but also reduces energy at a steady rate. So as an athlete, as a footballer, as anyone, you know, it actually nourishes the system.
Yeah, exactly. Those complex carbs.
Yeah. And I think, and that's why
carbs are amazing.
You know, I preach all the time about the benefits of using those products on the body. So
and they've been such a stable part of the diet too, right? Those starches, as we call them, you know, it's like what starch you're going to have, whether it's going to be cassava, whether it's going to be yams, whatever it is. It's like those starchy foods are known to, you know, they're low in fat. They're high in carbohydrate. They've got fiber in there. All of these things are great things to sustain energy levels, to burn off, to not store fat, to keep us full, to balance the blood sugar levels. Like these are the foods or the food groups that many of us are avoiding because they come under carbohydrates. And the same kind of negative stigma that I mentioned earlier in terms of bacteria. We think that bacteria is a bad thing, yet without them, we wouldn't survive. Same with carbohydrates. The body thrives off carbs. And I'm not talking donuts. I'm not talking like, you know, like carbs as people don't think of broccoli as a carb. They don't think of sweet potatoes as a carb. Your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, your beans, all of these are carbohydrates. And these are the foods that nourish us internally. And we see it externally and we feel it externally too.
Last question. Top 5 tips. So top 5 tips you would give anyone with regards to anyone.
Okay, top 5 tips. Anything particular?
On nutrition. Let's just pick nutrition. We're talking about nutrition. Anything. Anything.
Increase your fiber. Increase your fiber. Fact. And one tip that I give my clients is count 5 fibers on every plate. Different fibers. I don't care about the quantity. You don't need like huge portions, but 5 different types of fibers. So example, if you're having porridge, I said that earlier, you've already got your oats. Can you have banana on there? Maybe a few raspberries. Can you have some almonds in there? And then maybe a seed. Bang, 5 fibers, done. Same with lunch and same with dinner. And if it's a case of, I don't really have that many fibers, can you sprinkle some seeds on there? If you have salad, can you put a handful of nuts on there? Like, it's easy, bish bash bosh. And the seeds, I think, come in like 5 seed mix, so you can cheat with every meal and just put a couple of teaspoons on, and that is really going to help you increase that fiber diversity within the diet. So that's the first one. Water, increasing your hydration, right? So many of us don't drink enough water. If you don't get it into your day, I encourage people to carry a bottle of water around with them. If you're working from home, massive bottle on your desk, make sure it's finished before you shut your laptop. Maybe having a glass of water by your bed before you go to sleep, so when you wake up in the morning, you drink it straight away. You've already smashed 1 glass. There's just loads of different ways of getting hydration into your diet, which is really, really important. So that's 2. Exercise, movement, right? Even if it's walking, if you're not doing anything, getting out and walking, getting into nature helps us get out into those different bacteria that can help our microbiome. And also, you know, when we're walking, slow kind of, what do we call it? kind of slow twitch. We're trying to support those muscles, those long distance muscles. The more we walk, the more we run, the more we jog, the more we can produce more capillaries, which is amazing. Like in terms of supporting your overall heart, if you're dealing with high cholesterol, if you're dealing with type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetic, or if you're just not moving your body, move your body. Don't throw yourself into hardcore gym exercises if you don't. Just get outside and walk. We're coming into spring now, so it's just get your body moving and find stuff that you enjoy. Don't do stuff that you don't enjoy, because you're just not going to stay with it, right? So water, fiber, exercise, mobile phones off or on flight mode or off data 1 hour before you go to bed. 1 hour before. Try and charge it across the way from your bed, or even better, out the room. Scrolling in bed is a very disgusting habit. You know, I'm going to say like smoking, like don't do it. We're all guilty of doing it. But 1 hour before you sleep, you know, it reduces the amount of melatonin that's released. So if you aren't sleeping well, then go for 2 hours. But that will contribute because your brain is constantly being entertained. So try and read a book. I mean, even if you're watching Netflix on your laptop or whatever, that's fine. But just trying to not scroll at least half an hour to an hour before you go to bed. So that's another one. 5.
That was 5.
That was 5.
That was 5.
Yeah? All right. Good. Loads of stuff.
Oh, so thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you today. As always, love catching up with you. You're so informative. So once again, I know you're quite busy, got a hectic schedule, but it's always a pleasure spending some time with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye.